Welcome to camp. Welcome to another episode of Urban Talks. As you know, we decided for these remote interviews during the period of coronavirus, and however you watch us, that's great. We are glad for that, and let's continue. Let's continue with these interviews and with interesting talks with architects from all around the world. Today we have a guest from Portugal, from Portuguese city Porto, and its founder of architecture studio Samuel. Samuel is based in Science and Technology Park of University of Porto, and they are seeking the balance between pragmatism and experimentalism, and they work on optimization of building processes. That's a very interesting and actual topic, and I'm really happy that we will talk about it because I'm interested in it. They also won some awards, for example, Red Dot Award in 2017, and Samuel himself get under 40 European Design Award. So that's a short introduction. Samuel, hi, welcome to camp.
Hi.
Samuel Gonçalves is founder of Samuel, is that right?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
great.
true.
How are you?
I'm fine. Quite warm today, but fine.
Yeah, we can't say that, but I think it's quite comfortable weather here in Prague.
I will change with you today.
I can see that you're sitting in your studio. Is that right?
Yeah. We are in the studio. We are 4 currently, but we are just 2 in the studio today for obvious reasons. We are trying to reduce, and we have 2 people working from home.
Yeah, where is your studio? Is that right that you are still located in Science Technology Park?
No, I mean, the studio was founded there in the Science and Technology Park, and right now we are still connected with them, let's say in institutional terms, but physically we just moved out and we bought our own space. So right now we just bought our own garage, let's say,
how the connection,
in the center of Porto.
How the connection with the university works for you?
It was a very important step at the beginning because they let's say it worked as an incubator. So we started our career, let's say, door by door with other very young professionals like us. So the exchange of experience in between these colleagues in this incubator was quite important for us, not just architects, but people from the engineering field, from the film and cinema industry, from the law and the legislation field. So every time we needed something, we could find it in our building. So it was very important for us to give the first steps in this very, let's say, dynamic environment. And recently, let's say 1 year ago, when we felt comfortable to do it, we just gave this other step to buy our own space and to leave this incubator behind. But as I said, in institutional terms, we are still connected with them and we work together sometimes.
So do you define yourself or Summary Studio as an architectural startup? Is that right?
I could say it is a startup, yeah. I mean, right now we are almost completing the 5 years of existence. So we are leaving this status of startup, but I would say that it started in this kind of environment, yes.
Yeah, but even older companies describe themselves as startups because it's cool.
Yeah, it's just a cool stamp. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's important to have the community around you. As you said, there are different companies, in the incubator. So it's important to be connected with other kinds of companies.
Definitely, yes. I mean, at least at the beginning, I think it's one of the keys for the success. It's very important, yes.
Yeah. Can you show us a bit of your office?
Sure.
To see where big things happen?
Okay. So, as I said, it is almost a garage. It's like a ground floor in the center of Porto.
Yeah.
Okay, I will walk a bit. This is our yellow meeting room.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
On the other side, like right there, we have the kitchen, but I will not show you because it is a mess. So I will skip this part. And the rest of the studio is like that. We work in an open space. And right there is João. João, you can say hi if you want.
Hi. Hi from camp.
And as you can see, we just closed our gate today because the sun is too strong.
Ah, you have outside. A real gate. That's really garage. It's good.
Yes.
Well, thank you for a sightseeing tour.
A pleasure.
Okay, I think that I can ask you for a presentation. We are looking forward to see your work and hear how you work and hear something about your inspiration and modular architecture. So it's yours.
Perfect. Let's do it. Should I change the screen right now?
Yeah. Yeah, it works.
Working? So can I start?
Yeah, you can.
Perfect. So first of all, I would like to thank you for the introduction and for this little chat, and also to thank Camp and Vosta Elias for the invitation to be part of this Urban Talks, this series that, as I said before, I'm following during this pandemic time. So it's really fun for me to be in this side of the game today. So I'll be here talking about this studio, about Summary. As you said, it is a Portuguese practice focused mainly on prefab and modular architecture. And today we will show some of our architectural works as an architectural practice, but also some previews on an exhibition that we are developing based on these same topics. Prefabrication and off-site architecture. Okay, so about, let's say, our point, let's say our manifesto. In few words, we aim the optimization of time and physical resources in architecture through prefabricated solutions. So it was, let's say, a challenge we chose to make the construction act an increasingly simple process. And we choose this challenge from the beginning based on two facts. First fact, people who need a place to live and to stay are moving around faster in global terms, particularly moving toward the cities. Now we have 3 billion people living in cities. By 2013, we'll have roughly 5 billion, two of them under the poverty line. So it is the first time in history that we face this kind of brutal increase in such a short period. It means that we'll need to define strategies to accommodate all this population faster than ever. Otherwise, a lot of cities will just collapse, and otherwise architecture will not take a relevant role in this urbanization process. Second fact, let's say in the extreme opposite point, there's a growing need for immediacy from these global and accelerated society, which every day uses products and services from these kind of companies. These pictures, this global demanding for, let's say, affordable rapidity. And I would say that these two worldwide facts, the people moving toward the cities and the growing need for immediacy, they seem to be unrelated, but they have something in common. I mean, they both set up a call for pragmatism, and they both place the same challenge to architecture, which is time and physical resources optimization. And from the beginning, we knew it would be our focus, and that's why we are so obsessed with standardization, with prefabricated and modular architecture. But I would say that beside these two worldwide facts there's also our empiric perception, our personal experience. So it was Portugal in 2015, the year we created the studio. It was a post-crisis country with a lack of money, very few public investment, and quite limited resources. So this resource optimization sense was not just a choice, but also a need in a country like Portugal. So we just worked with the context we found at the moment. And I believe this project, our first project, shows it quite well. By the same year, 2015, a Portuguese concrete company specialized in prefab and offsite construction commissioned us to develop a new building system that should be cheap and easy to produce, to transport, and to assemble. This was our answer. We call it the gomos system. Gomos is the Portuguese word meaning the slice of the orange fruit. And we created this modular system based on these concrete rings. And we also designed with them not just the modules, not just the pieces itself, but also the procedure to make it happen. Let's say the industrial procedure. And that's how it works. This is a very short video with less than 3 minutes. And it shows us in the first day doing this foundation slab. It's a typical foundation slab. During the second day, of course, we have the building ready in the factory, and we just start the transportation of the modules. As you can see, the building is completely ready, and each module leaves the factory completely ready, including the insulation layer, all the interior and exterior finishings, the window frames, water and electricity equipment, and so on. And during the third day, all the pieces are in the building site, and we just need to place and to connect them, and it's ready to use. So this building, this process took us 3 months on factory to prepare the building, 3 days on site to mount it, within a period 6 times faster than our country's building rate average, without compromising any structural feature. So that's what we mean when we talk about time optimization. These are some photos of this building, this prototype. This is our first project, so of course it has a special taste for us. Also because it somehow materializes our approach. Anyway, it's important to remark that we didn't invent this. We just took the idea of these old sewer pipes normally used for the water drainage, and we redesigned them in order to make them habitable. So rather than an invention, I would say that it is a reinterpretation of an existing solution. I would say that in structural terms, these sewer pipes and this gomos system, they are just the same. And that's why I love this sentence from Jonathan Keats for Forbes magazine. This project shows how the most readily available solutions are often so commonplace as to be practically invisible. So sometimes our function, our task as architects is not just about to invent, but also about to unveil these hidden solutions. And it takes us to the Venice Biennale in 2016. It was this idea of transposition from an infrastructural system to an architectural system that we were invited to show in the Venice Biennale. This is our installation called Infrastructure, Structure, Architecture. And the idea was to make straight clear what was the concept and also what was the final result behind this building system. So we wanted to show how these three pieces are so different in shape, so different in use, but they are quite the same in constructive terms. And again, reinforcing this idea of transposition, of reinventing. Here's a project 70 years older than ours, but basically using the same concept. I mean, structural slices fully ready from the factory, and they use steel, we use concrete, but the concept is quite similar, as you can see from these pictures. And another case, the zip-up house from Richard Rogers, again, is not innovation at all. It is all about reprocessing and adapting existing solutions. So I would say that the history of prefabricated architecture is being built with cases like that. I mean, similar solutions being applied by different architects, solutions that failed and then sometimes decades later, they are copied or recovered by someone else. And after the Biennale, we got some commissions to develop several works with this GOMO system, with this modular system. This is one of them, mixing tourism and housing. The client came to us because of this hilly terrain. So with this kind of topography, it will be very difficult and very expensive to assemble construction yards for the traditional building. That's why he wanted our modular system. And at the very first moment, the commission was something different. I mean, he wanted us to distribute some rooms in the terrain and to centralize the common services in a central building. We proposed something different, not rooms, but small houses. So some of them are able to work not as tourism units, but as full-time houses. So let's say that mixing these two different programs, we guarantee that this complex will not have a seasonal use. It will be used the whole year and not just in the vacation period. And normally frequent use and frequent people around means easier maintenance and easier security of the area. So the client understood and accepted this suggestion and this concept. And we also use this project to start a new experience with this system. I mean, in order to optimize even more the production, in this case, we concentrate all the technical installations, I mean, water, electricity, and climatization in just one module. We call it the technical module. I think you can see it here, you know, like the central one. And we bring all these technical parts to the rest of the house externally. So this central module, the technical module, requires more specifications to be produced, but the rest can be produced automatically with very little man intervention and taking roughly half of the time. So the next step was the placing of the units over the hillside, from the top to the down part where we have the river. So if you look at the image below, it seems quite random, but it is, let's say, a response to the ground pressure. So due to this terrain topography, it will be difficult to build these normal foundation slabs. So through a geotechnical test, we determine the parts with the best ground pressure. They are marked in blue in the image above. So within those areas, the natural ground is strong enough to install each unit directly without any foundation slab. So it's easier, cheaper, and also, let's say, less abrasive for the natural soil. And then within those blue areas, we just tested different positions and different orientations. The goal was to place the units as separated as possible to ensure some privacy between each other, and combining it with specific orientations to avoid visual barriers to the landscape. We tried several options. Looks like a Tetris game until we got to this. So at this point, each unit adds view for the landscape and for the river, and these modules are currently being installed. Some of them are already placed in the terrain. And another project using the same system, this is a mixed-use building with an upper floor with 6 small apartments for low-cost renting, and let's say a multifunctional space in the ground floor in this direct contact with the public space. So we try to take this multifunctionality to the limit by doing the internal divisions of this ground floor using removable panels. So this enables future adjustments and modifications. So it's possible to add or to remove compartments and to let the whole floor to function as a big open space. So let's say that the users can make the space according their own needs over time. All the structure is off-site, made out of prefabricated concrete. So it is produced and stored in factory. And then when it's the right moment, we just assemble it in the building site in a very quick and clean way. So we use this panel system in the ground floor, similar to the famous Soviet systems, and the Gamma system in the upper floor, both with the insulation already inside the walls from the factory. And this is our latest released project. This is some cell phone videos from the assembly process. And these are the final photos of the building. So here you can see this ground floor, the multifunctional space working as a table, and these 6 houses over this table. These are some photos from the front of a facade facing the street, the public. Then the back facade, we could say the private one, clearly more, let's say, more closed. And as you can see, we assumed these structural walls without any finishing. So we have prefab concrete visible from the interior. And also from the exterior, so reducing the arts and the manpower involved in the construction process, what also means saving time and money. Okay, now we are exploring new ways and new shapes to use these concrete pieces to build modular structures. This is one of them, a commission from the Mezi Museum in Rome. So they commissioned 5 European studios to develop an idea for a temporary installation to be in the external part of the Mezi Museum for 4 months to host some activities during the summer, such as lectures and performances. This was our proposal to transform this temporary installation into something permanent. I mean, a permanent building. What I'm trying to say is that the pieces use during the installation could then be reused to assemble a permanent building. So our proposal as an installation was kind of, let's say, concrete pergola functioning as a temporary and shaded space to host these activities. I would say that this formal appearance of the installation corresponds to what it really is. I mean, a provisory stage of something, a provisory stage for a concrete pieces that would become a building later. It does look almost as a building site. And using the same pieces, it will be possible to rise this permanent building, somehow recycling the energy, the effort, and the material previously used in the temporary installation. Unfortunately, we didn't win this one. This is another project. This is for the Serralves Museum Foundation in Portugal. They promoted a competition for a modular and itinerant pavilion to host their art exhibition in different locations. So it should be flexible and it should be able to assume different dimensions from 200 to 600 square meters, needing to be repeatedly assembled, disassembled, and stored. So we defined two main principles in this project. The first one is to guarantee that the structural resistance of the pavilion will stand after several assemblies. And the second one is to find the cheapest solution for the pavilion storage. I mean, when the pavilion is not in use, it should not represent any cost. So to ensure this structural resistance, instead of trying to invent a new modular system, which will not be verified and tested, we just reused again an existing system. So it is the same strategy we used with the GOMOS, but with a different shape. Here we divided each module into two pieces, the base and the top. So it's like two U shapes, right? And dividing them, we also divide the weight and we make them simpler to assemble. So this is the proposed solution, and all these pieces, of course, are to be produced off-site. And here you can see how it can vary in terms of dimensions simply by adding or removing modules. About the storage, we propose these modules to have 3 different sizes, allowing them to be stored inside each other as, let's say, as a matryoshka, occupying a reduced space. And considering the rough composition of these modules, they are mainly made out of concrete, they are able to be stored anywhere, including in the exterior, not needing a warehouse. So we said they can just store these modules in the gardens of the foundation, reducing the storage costs to 0. So we got selected in the first stage of this competition. They selected 3 shortlisted projects, and we are still waiting for the final decision. Okay, I'm almost finishing here, but let's go back to the beginning of this talk. These 2 facts, the increasing of the global urban population and this increasing of the demand for immediacy, they are changing the world, and certainly they are demand for rapid and more efficient architecture. So in generic terms, these requirements are also the main struggles of off-site and prefab architecture. However, I would say that most of the off-site attempts fail. They don't reach the expected rapidity or the expected affordability. And here, in this image, we have Walter Gropius and Conrad Watchman assembling this package house, their project. And even being two geniuses of the last century architecture and engineering, they didn't reach the expected, let's say, scalability. And we could say that this project was not successful in commercial terms. So we create the virtual exhibition called The Reasons of Sight to discuss this kind of problematics. But it also could be called, what are the reasons for this imminent fail of off-site architecture? Of course, we don't intend to give the answer to such a complicated question, but we try to collect some examples and some knowledge to help the audience to build their own conclusion. This is how this exhibition works. It is a collection of buildings and building systems. There are 25 building systems that we considered significant in the historical evolution of off-site architecture. And the goal is to create this kind of radiography of the different stages of the historical evolution. So we present the classical triptych of any architectural exhibition, I mean, models, texts, and photos, but we do it in a virtual environment using these, I can show you these glasses, the virtual glasses, the Oculus Rift, right? And as you can imagine, right now, due to this pandemic situation, we are not allowed to show this exhibition in museums as we like during some time. So we created a reduced version of this exhibition that you can check in the link that I think will be in the comments, right? Okay, you can follow the link and you'll get to this virtual space. This is the reduced version that I told you before. As I said, in the complete version, we have 25 buildings. Here we have just 8. And within these 8 buildings, I would like to share with you at least 3 of them. This is the Mannix Cottage. I would say that maybe it is the most relevant, or let's say at least the first case with some relevance of industrial production and transportation architecture. So this was produced in UK and then shipped to some Britain colonies. So here you can navigate through all this information. And if you want to go further, you can also press here in 3D. And you can have the full 3D of this model. Then we can go back to the main menu and check the rest. I also love this one, the Halley 6. This was produced in South Africa because, as you can imagine, it will be impossible to build in a scenario like that. So this is for some researchers in Antarctica. So they produce these modules in South Africa and they ship it to Antarctica. And one last case, this one, the Key 7, one of the most interesting examples of off-site concrete, this panel system. I would say the most important one if we consider the square meters built as a criterion. One of the most important systems during the Soviet Union and DDR period. And I will leave the other examples with you to check later. And I'm finishing here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very interesting presentation and very interesting approach. I'm also interested in panel houses because panel houses are a quite important topic in Prague because we have a lot of them, and I think over 3 million people in Czech Republic live in panel houses, and I also live in one of them for 20 years, so I know them from floor to the ceiling. This system is quite important for Prague, and we are trying to take care about these housing projects and these areas because they are full of people who live their lives there. If you can change the presentation, and I will be able to see you, so we can talk.
Do you want me to turn off the screen?
Or you can let it turn on, and maybe you will show us some examples from the presentation because I have some questions. I would like to ask you about of course, about the modular system, because I think that Portugal has, or Portuguese cities, you have the same problems like we have. City density, because now it's quite topic. We are talking about the density of the city because it's better in an economical way. And we have also problem with the housing crisis. Housing is very expensive, especially for young people. And I would like to ask you if you think that the modular architecture can help us with solving this problem. On one side, solving the problem with prices of housing, and on the other side, if we can use it while we are focusing on city density.
So maybe I will separate the answer in 2 parts. First, talking about city density. To be honest, I think it's not a problem. The point is, 1 year before, a lot of architects and urbanists were discussing the inverse. I mean, the urban sprawl. The urban sprawl is a problem because it is a more polluting way of territorialization. I mean, the people needs to move more around to go from their home to their jobs, and so they consume more fuel, so they produce more carbon. And right now, from the beginning of this pandemic, this discussion was inverted. And now we are all saying that maybe it's good not having density. It's good to have the urban sprawl. It's good to have the separation between people for health reasons. I would say that I mean, through a global scenario, we can see that the urbanization processes are quite clear. What is happening all around the world with different velocities is that the urban population is increasing a lot. It is increasing a lot also because the world population is increasing, but also because the people is moving from rural areas to urban areas. But at the same time, while the population of the cities is enlarging, the footprint of the cities is enlarging even more. So it's quite safe to say that the density we have now is lower than the density we had 30 years before in most parts of the cities. Of course, if we see some images of the center of London or the center of, Shanghai or Sao Paulo, of course, they are shocking and they pictures this high density, but I think these are very specific spots. If we look to the big picture, I think the urban space right now we have, in generic terms, again, of course, we can always have exceptions. In generic terms, the urban scenario we have right now all around the globe is not particularly dense. And so this is to say that I think that this density is not a real problem. You have some positive points because when you connect people, you have more knowledge, more wealth, and also more resources connected. When you connect people, of course, you also have problems in terms of health. That's what we are facing right now with this pandemic. So I think that we need to assume these urban behaviors as a fact that we cannot control, and to work with them. But again, I will not call the density a problem itself. What I would say, and I agree with you, is that we have an housing crisis. And I don't know the Czech Republic situation, as you know, but I do know the Portuguese situation. And I think it is more or less the same that we are facing and experiencing all around Europe. And I would say that the main problem we have in with the housing is the dependence that we have from the bank system. I would say that it is quite impossible to buy a house not using a bank loan. And this has, decades. So the installation of this economic system is working for some people. So it's not working for the most part of them, the one that has no power to change it. So I would say that it is a very, very difficult task that we need to face in the upcoming years. I would say that the modularity can provide rapidity, but not more than that. So if the main problem is not in the technical part of the construction, if the main problem is in the economical architecture, let's say, of this problem, I would say that the solution itself is not the modularity. The solution is to try, of course, to create strategies to reduce at least this bank dependency.
Very awesome. Let's focus on the GOMO system.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting because when I saw the video, for me it was like, wow, that's a very easy way how to build my house. That's a very easy way how to live somewhere. And I'm interested in prices, in some comparison between the situation when you invented the system, when you built the first block of the GOMO, and compare it with the situation when you build Vila de Cambre. I mean the price of the panel, because you know how to build it. You know the best. You knew the best way how to build it. You made more blocks. Did the price change? Was it cheaper to build Vila de Cambre when you compare it to the first block of GOMO?
So actually the price per square meter didn't change that much, but it didn't change that much because in the first prototype, the company that produced these modules, which is not our company, as you can imagine, we are just architectural studio, then we have a partner that does the production and installation of these modules. And I think they assumed this prototype as an investment. So I would say that they didn't charge a fair price. But I'll tell you something. When we created this system, our initial idea would be to build this kind of houses, like the one I showed at the beginning in the video, you know. But then we realized that this system will not allow us to build houses. It will allow us to build housing projects, I mean collective housing projects, or bigger buildings, you know, like the tourism and housing facility that I also showed here. Of course, they are also houses, but they are 11 houses together. For a single house, it is not optimized, you know, because you have a lot of costs in terms of, you know, industrial procedures, then the transportation, and then the rent of the crane, for example, to assemble these modules. And these costs are more or less the same, either you build a 80 square meters house, or if you build a 1,000 square meters building. So we realized that we are just able to do bigger projects with this system. So, of course, with the scale, the price per square meter goes down. I would say that in this Vila de Cambre project, the price was roughly 900 euros per square meter. I have this idea. But again, because it is a 1,000 square meters building, you know, if we increase the scale, we can reduce the price per square meter.
Yeah, I understand. I also want to ask you if you experiment with, you know, blocks or prefabs that are already on the market. For example, if you go to some concrete company and ask them about their portfolio, and you see something that is perfect for you and you can work with it, some panels or other shapes. So it will be something like Lego for you.
No, actually, this system in particular is associated to a single company, also because as it has a very special shape, you know, it was produced a specific mold for this piece. So I would say that I cannot take this catalog and go to another company and ask them to build the same, you know, the same kind of piece. Of course, that if you work with panels or with simple regular shapes, it will be easier. And right now, I did show it here today because it is not ready yet, but we are starting the building process for 4 kindergartens here in Portugal, in Lisbon, and it is built, you know, the system that I showed for this Serralves foundation, which is based in this U system that you can overlap several U-shaped pieces and get several floors, is something like that. So in this case, I think it's easier to produce, let's say, anywhere, right?
Yeah, and for example, the Gomo house, is it possible to replace it, take it somewhere else, or is it connected with the ground, or
it's not connected with the ground, and you can't replace it? Yes.
Yeah.
You don't need to connect it with the ground, because each one of these 5 modules that compose this house weighs 25 tons. So you don't need to, let's say, to fixate these pieces to the ground, because they are super, super heavy. They will not move from there.
Yeah, that's very, very, very cool. I think that was very inspiring in you know, in context of the actual housing crisis. So I'm looking forward to see that application somewhere in Czech Republic or somewhere close to be able to see it in live. It's very, very cool. I'd
love to.
I'm also interested in the Maxi Pavilion. This is the realization, or is it just a project? I'm not sure if I...
What happened there is that Maxi Museum, they invite 5 studios to present a project. So they commissioned 5 projects, and then they just built one of them. And it was not ours, okay? So this project was never built, but it was very interesting for us, because the challenge was quite clear. We had limit of budget, which was 80,000 euros. So with this money, we should be able to produce the pieces of the installation, to transport it, and then at the end of the installation period, to disassemble it, transport it again, and to assemble it as a final building. This was, let's say, our challenge during this process, and finally we got this. But as I said, unfortunately, the selected project was not ours. I think the winner in this case is D3R. It is an Italian studio with a very beautiful installation. It is not there anymore. It was the last, I think it was the last summer.
Yeah, I'm asking because I was attracted by the shape of the blocks. I think it will let you do more interesting creations, and it will push your creativity up. And I hope it will happen because your work is just amazing. Thank you very much, Samuel. Thank you very much for your talk and for your time and for the decision to join Urban Talks.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Have a nice rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So thank you for watching Urban Talks. You will find the record of the talk on YouTube and Facebook, and I hope we will meet again during the summer. Bye.